Some years ago, I had a professor who had one time told us all that if you want to be a successful writer, you should do your best to avoid instructional manuals on how to write a novel. And what they were referring to were those books that you've seen, I'm sure, on how to write a novel, how to develop this aspect of novel writing, this how to develop this element of the craft. I'm sure you've seen plenty of those things before. And what they had said was to get really good at writing, you need to avoid those sorts of books and instead just read novels. You To them you would gain more from reading a novel and breaking down why that novel works than going through some compartmentalized book and reading about different aspects of how to start a novel, how to write a beginning, how to improve your dialogue, how to understand subtext and theme in a book. Just getting in there and reading more and learning how to take away what works and what's not working from a book for them was a more efficient way to become a better writer. And on that point, I tend to, I guess, disagree a little bit. I do think that you can gain a little bit from reading sort of instructional books on novel writing, but to any great degree, you probably are going to get further just analyzing other people's books. But the reason why I'm bringing this up, though, is part of the reason why I'm about almost 100 days into this write every day while I'm approaching the triple digit numbers here is because I want to know what happens if you stick with something with no exceptions. You can read about other people that write every day. You can read texts about people that will say I write every day, or I write 5 days a week and take 2 days off, or I hit a certain word count every day. You can read plenty of different people's opinions on what's worked for them, but much like how you can't really extrapolate a lot from reading a textbook on how to write a novel, you have to get there and actually read books. You know, you can't necessarily find out what works well for you until you've actually gone into the field and tested, and until you've actually gone in there and tested out and seen what works for you. Do you know that writing every day is not going to improve your writing, or do you know that it will? Until you've actually tried it consistently for a long period of time, you're not going to know. And for me, that's what this whole process really is about, is just trying to figure out, okay, does this work? Will my writing substantially improve if I keep doing this? If I keep sticking with this, will I notice an improvement? And is it because I am writing every day? And so far, I mean, it's been good. So far, I mean, I've mentioned my rating's gone up. I don't know exactly how much. I don't know if just writing every day has been the only factor, or if there have been other things that I've mentioned that I'm not currently working at the moment, so I don't necessarily have a day job. Does not having the interrupted free time also help? But I want to find out. I'm here to basically figure out, okay, will just committing myself every day to sitting at the keyboard and hammering away at some work, at some project, will that produce a tangible result that's of actually decent quality? Because anybody can just sit at a keyboard, type up some words, and have a book done by the end of it and have, a few 100,000 words written. It doesn't take a lot to sit there and do that. Can it be quality? Is it good enough to be published? Is it a smart way to approach it? That's what I'm doing with this project. That's what I'm doing with this Write Every Day, is I'm trying to figure that out. I'm being sort of the guinea pig, I guess, in a sense, to figure out, okay, does just being committed to this thing completely work? And I'm obviously not the first person that's ever done it. There are plenty of writers that claim they write basically every single day. So I'm definitely not the only person. But even if I was to look at what everyone else has done and read it, and read 10 9 out of 10 authors that I've read, if I went through the schedule and they all said, yeah, everyone except for maybe one has said, all right, yep, I write every day and it works well for me. Until I've actually tried it, until I've implemented it myself, I'm not going to know. I'm not going to figure that out. And so for me, that's what this whole thing is about, is just sort of discovering it for myself. And that's true for most things. I mean, most things in life, you're not, the actual experience of doing something is always going to trump studying it or reading it. All right. Not in every case, but in most cases, the guy who's read 100 books on rock climbing and the guy who's gone rock climbing 100 times, yeah, the guy who's actually done it has more experience, right? You're going to take the advice of the guy who's done it 100 times, not the person who's read 100 books on the subject, but has never actually done it. So here's to, closing it on the first 100 days of this project. I don't know how long I'm going to stick with it. But I'm enjoying so far what the results have been. And I think as long as I continue to see some sort of results over the long term, obviously, day to day, there might be some variation, but as long as there's a general trend of improvement, I'm probably going to stick with this process.